This video is for educational purposes only, and only competent persons should attempt this installation. Hey, this is Bill for Sparky Channel, and welcome to another edition of House Renovation Time. We're working on a 1957 house today, and it's a full house renovation. This is a problem that I have found, and this is a three-way switch. You might recognize it by there's 1, 2, 3 terminals and a ground. So that is a three-way switch. That's what we call it in the United States anyway. So let's check out, see if this is hot. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That one's not, but this is hot, so it's a dangerous situation, and we will be turning off the circuit breaker. First though, let me show you the problem. One thing you need to know about three-way switches is that they are not marked on and off. Let's see what's going on here. Here's the light that it controls. And I turn it one way and the light's off. I turn it the other way and the light's still off. Okay, so here's the other switch. And you can see that this is the three-way switch here. See, it's a little wider than the regular switch. So we're going to turn that in the up position. And the light came on. So this three-way switch system is working about 50% of the time, depending on the orientation of the two three-way switches. Okay, so the first thing I have to do is turn off the circuit breaker. So let's double check. Okay, the electricity is off for this circuit. You might ask, well, aren't you going to mark these wires or where they go? And the answer is no. This is a miswired three-way switch system, and there's no sense marking them because it's wrong right now. My next step, I'm going to take this off, and I'm going to clean all the wires. I'm going to clean the box. I'm going to clean it as well as I can and sanitize it as well as I can. I've got these wires cleaned up as well as I can, and I've vacuumed out the box. And so I got 3 wires. These are the 3 wires that hook up to the three-way switch. And here we are at the other three-way switch. First we'll do a double check, make sure the electricity is off. And now I'll take off the three-way switch. Probably we'll only need to take off the three-way switch, not the single pull switch. And we see we have 3 wires coming to this switch. So this is a three-way switch. It's a really old one though. Notice there is no grounding terminal on this old switch. Once again, I will disconnect the wires without worrying about what wire goes where, because this three-way switch system is miswired, and I'm going to be rewiring it anyway. Now I've taken the 3 wires off of the three-way switch, and I've vacuumed the box out, which is always a good idea in an old house. We're probably not going to need to disconnect any further wires. These are the 3 wires that went to the three-way switch, so that's all that we should need to be testing. Because the single pull switch on your right is working properly at this time. Now I have put wire connectors on all 6 of the wires. 3 in this box and 3 in the other box for safety, because I'm going to be turning the circuit breaker on to do some tests. So I want to have the ends of the wires protected for safety. I have turned the circuit breaker back on. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to look for the one wire in both of the boxes that is hot. You see, because there's only one circuit coming to this three-way switch system. So with all these wires disconnected, there is only going to be one that's hot, and we need to know which one it is. So here we go. Here's my Fluke 1AC voltage detector. That was not hot. That was not hot. This one right here is hot. Okay? This one's hot. I'm going to mark that in just a second. We're going to go to the other box and make sure that all the other 3 wires in that box are not hot. This is the wire that brings the electrical energy into this three-way switch system. Here we are at the other box with the circuit breaker on for this test. And hopefully none of these wires are going to show hot. There'd be something wrong if they did. Okay, we only have one hot wire in both of these boxes, which is proper. We needed to find that wire. It's called the line wire. So let's go back to the other box. I'm going to turn the circuit breaker back off. Here I've wrapped the line wire in red tape to designate it as the line wire. Here we're going to double check, make sure that the circuit breaker is off, and it is. So this is the line wire. These two are traveler wires. Traveler wires bring the electrical energy in a switched manner between the two three-way switches. So that's what these are. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to temporarily hook them together like this. And that's going to enable me to find the traveler wires in the other box. Here I am at the second box, and we have the two traveler wires in the other box hooked together. So here I have my Fluke 117 electrician's meter, and I have it turned to continuity right here. And if there is continuity between two of these wires and the wires that I have hooked together in the other box, then those are the traveler wires. So I'll hook one lead to right here and one lead here. Okay, there's no continuity here. All right, let's try down here. There we go. So these two wires have continuity with the two traveler wires in the other box. So these are traveler wires. Okay? And then that means, by the process of elimination, this is the load wire. Okay? Traveler, traveler, load. In other words, this brings the current to the light being the load. I wrapped the line wire in red electrical tape, so I'll wrap this load wire in blue electrical tape. It's a good idea to wrap these old wires in electrical tape anyway. So here we have traveler, traveler, load wire. Before we start wiring up the new three-way switches, there's one more test I'd like to do. And now I have my Fluke 117 turned to Auto V Low Z. This feature eliminates ghost voltages, which may occur because my camera is close to the wires, or because my flashlight or something like that is close to the wires. So I put it on Auto V Low Z, and that will test the voltage. So I have one lead hooked to the line wire. That's the one that's hot. We've tested that to be hot. And this lead I'm going to put on the metal box itself. Right back there. And there we go. We've got about 117 volts AC. So the metal box is giving us a return path to the panel. So there is a 1957 form of grounding to this metal box. This picture from a previous video of mine will give you some idea of how the grounds were run to the back of the box in this era of house. Which is great. Now what I'm going to do, because it's a pretty busy box, is I'm going to use the higher quality three-way switches. See, this has a self-grounding clip right here, and that will ground this three-way switch to the existing grounding of the metal box. These self-grounding clips are handy when you have a busy box like this and you don't have a lot of extra room. You can just use the self-grounding clip to ground your switch. Okay, so I have the circuit breaker turned off. We'll double check, make sure everything's off. This is the three-way switch that I'm going to install. This is called a specification grade three-way switch. You might find it called heavy duty, and you're much better off buying a good three-way switch rather than the residential grade, which they're also called contractor grade sometimes. They're really not good, and these are much better. Okay, it's time to install the three-way switch. And on a three-way switch, we have the black common terminal. It's labeled common, and that's the line wire that I have designated with red tape here goes to the black common terminal. The ground wire, we have no ground wire here. We're going to be using the self-grounding clip. These two brass colored terminals are for your traveler wires. And these two are your traveler wires. It doesn't matter which traveler wire goes to which. You just got to make sure the traveler wires go to the brass colored terminal. Now, for myself, you see there's a top on this switch right here. It says top. That goes up, and I like to put one color to the top and one to the bottom. So I'm going to put the white wires, the white traveler wires to the top terminal. I'll go ahead and put it in there and tighten it down very well. Okay, give it a test. Okay, and I'm going to put the black traveler wire to the bottom terminal, and I'm going to do that on both of them. You really don't have to worry about it. It's going to work as long as you put the traveler wires to the brass colored traveler wire terminals. You're going to be okay. Okay, so I have the traveler wires connected to the brass colored traveler wire terminals. Now I'm going to put the red line wire to the black common terminal. And I'm going to tighten that down very well. Okay, so like I say, you got to put the top on the top. It says top right up here. Put a couple wraps of black electrical tape around the device and install it in the box. Here we are at the second switch box, and this is the load wire, and these are the two traveler wires. This one's still got a little white on it. This is actually the white one, and I'm putting those on the top of the brass colored terminals. So that goes right there, and we'll tighten her down securely. Okay, and then this is your other traveler wire. It goes to your other traveler wire terminal. Here is your load wire. It's pretty short. We'll just tighten down the ground screw terminal. This device also has a self-grounding clip right here, so we'll be taking advantage of the old style 1957 grounding. Okay, so we'll put this in here. Tighten her down securely. Wrap a couple wraps of black electrician's tape around the device and install it into the box. I'll be changing out this switch later. I might make another video about that. So I'm not going to put the cover on right now, but we're ready to test out the system, see if it works. So we'll start with the first three-way switch, and I'll be turning it on and off. All right, now I'm going to leave this one off. Okay, that's where the problem was. When one of these was off, the other one wouldn't work. With the other switch off, we're going to hit this switch, and you see that the light is on now. And here we go. Okay, let's leave this one on this time. And here we are at the first switch. All right, that works fine. Now we're going to leave this one on. And here we are at the second switch. All right, so any combination we do, it works. Our three-way switch system now works. Here is a diagram showing how this three-way switch system was probably wired, because generally in 1957 houses, the hot wire comes to the light up in the ceiling, and then it goes over here in the form of well, I have here, it says 12-2 with ground. In a 1957 house, it's going to be a 14-2 with ground. It's a little thinner wire, but it works fine. 14-2 with ground coming over to the first switch. And here is your line wire. Remember, that's the one we tested for. That's the only one that's going to be hot if this wire, this wire, this wire, this wire, this wire, and this wire are disconnected. This is the only one that's going to be hot. So we found the hot wire, which we call the line wire. That's the line cable right here. We found this line wire with our test with our Fluke voltage detector. Here's your neutral, and it would go in the back of the box if there was a neutral. And in this case, there probably isn't a neutral in these boxes, but it would go in the back of the box. Now, here are your traveler wires. They go to the traveler terminals. They're bronze in color. The common terminal will be black in color. And in our case, I don't believe we had a neutral. They just used the white wire as one of the traveler wires. And so I put it on top, like right here, I have the red on top, and go over here to this terminal of the traveler wires. I put the red on top and on top, and I put the black wires on the bottom here and on the bottom here. So this, it says 12.3 with ground, but I don't believe that's what they used. I think they just used a 14.2, and they used the white wire as a traveler wire. That's why the traveler wires are white. So this wire right here was the load wire. That's the one that we color coded as blue. This one we color coded as red, if you remember. So this load wire goes to the load, which is the light. And if there was neutrals, they would be in the back of the box. So that gives you an idea of how this is wired in a 1957 house. And now you're going to ask, okay, what was wrong? What was it? Okay, this hot wire got onto one of these traveler terminals here. You see, like this wire got onto here, and this wire got onto here, or this wire got onto this terminal, and this wire got onto this terminal. And that could have happened at either switch. And that's all it takes. Your three-way switch system will not work right, and it's very difficult to find this out if you're just working on it. It's faster to just take these wires off. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wires. You make your test. You find your hot wire with your voltage detector. You find your traveler wires. You hook these two together, okay, and that will give you these two traveler wires with a continuity test. Then by the process of elimination, this wire is your load wire. So either a traveler wire and a hot wire, or a traveler wire and a load wire got mixed up. So that was the problem. It's just not worth it to try and find the problem when you're doing this kind of job. Like I say, I'm doing a whole house renovation, and you just don't have time to be doing stuff that doesn't really accomplish anything. Just go right for the fix. That's what I feel. So there you go. That's a diagram. I know some of you work better with diagrams. Some of you work better seeing the actual wiring and how I work with the wires. So I'm going to give you both, the actual working with the wires and the diagram. This video was sponsored by absolutely nobody. So I just used all the tools that I really wanted to use, the ones that I thought were the very best. And I'll put links in my video description for my 2 Fluke meter tester, the 117 electrician's meter, and the Fluke 1AC voltage detector. I work with those all the time. They're great. I'll put a link for the Knipex electrical installation tool. Mine is 1000 volt insulated. They make them both insulated and non-insulated. I'll put links for both. And I use the Klein 1000 volt insulated screwdrivers. So those are all great tools, and I'll put links for all of them in my video description. Okay, thanks.